You can put your questions in the chat throughout the presentation or wait until the end for the Q&A part of this event. During that time, you can also unmute yourself to ask a question. We have enabled auto captions. To use this feature, select the Show Captions button in your control bar. The auto captions are available in multi-languages. With that, I'd like to introduce our guests, Mike Magruder, Director of Integrated Planning and Clean Energy, and Kelly Dengel, Clean Energy Policy Implementation Manager. We'll start with Mike to share a few words before we turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you, Anna, and good morning, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Mike Magruder. I'm the Director of Integrated Planning and Clean Energy here at Avista. I'm proud to work alongside a dedicated team that plans, designs, and manages how we deliver energy. Where our system can support new sources like solar and wind, and that it continues to serve our customers reliably. Our job is to balance energy needs with state regulations, all while keeping our customers' experience in mind. It's a complex task, and it's even more challenging as we see new renewable energy policies in Washington. For example, like Anna mentioned, in 2019, Washington passed the Clean Energy Transformation Act, or CETA. This law sets a bold target. By 2045, all electricity in the state must come from renewable or non-emitting resources. That's a big shift, and it affects all of us. The good news is delivering clean energy isn't new to Avista. As you may know, our company started more than 135 years ago and immediately began development of our first hydroelectricity project. And you can see that first generation facility in downtown Spokane today, though it looks a little different. But there is still a lot of work and planning that goes into transitioning to an electric grid more reliant on renewables. And to meet these goals, utilities like Avista are required to develop a clean energy implementation plan every 4 years. This plan is our roadmap. It outlines how we'll improve energy efficiency, manage demand, increase renewable energy, and engage with our communities and customers. Today, we'll walk you through the highlights of our new plan, but more importantly, we want to hear from you. This plan isn't just about power, it's also about people and the communities we serve. It's about ensuring that the energy lighting your homes, fueling your businesses, and supporting your communities is reliable for years to come. So please ask questions, share your thoughts, and help us shape a future that considers the unique needs of Washington customers. So now I'll turn it over to Kelly Dengel. She's Avista's Clean Energy Policy and Implementation Manager.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. Glad you're with us. I hope today's information we share is informative and gives you more context for where Avista is going with our 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan. I'd like to begin with information regarding Avista's regulatory model. Avista provides energy to 3 states, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. And it's really a balancing act between what customers expect in terms of safe, reliable, and affordable energy, and what the state requires of the utility. In Washington, Avista is regulated by the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission, with commissioners that are appointed by the governor in Washington. It's Avista's responsibility to comply with individual state laws and policies, but it's the commission that determines if Avista is compliant. The commission also determines what costs can be recovered from customers through energy rates. Please consider this information as we discuss Avista's compliance with the Clean Energy Transformation Act. CETA was passed into law in 2019, and it applies to all electric utilities in Washington state. Every 4 years, the utility creates a clean energy implementation plan to demonstrate how they will comply with the law, especially these 3 main requirements. The removal of electricity generated from coal is the first requirement, and Avista will exit its use of coal strip generation in Montana by the end of this year. Avista's 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan informs how Avista is making progress toward the 2030 carbon neutrality electricity requirement. And by 2045, all electricity provided to Washington customers must come from a renewable or non-emitting carbon source 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And that's a really big goal. In the second quarter of 2025, Avista's public meeting covered some other law-required components of the plan. The public participation meeting, how we can engage with customers about this process and these requirements, and customer benefit indicators, those metrics that help measure the transition to cleaner energy. In today's public meeting, we'll talk about Avista's 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan and its primary components. Here are some terms we'll use today. I've also provided them on the applicable side to help inform you along the way. This is an overview of the Clean Energy Implementation Plan's components, and I'll cover each section in the subsequent slides, starting with named communities and customer benefit indicators, and we'll close with Avista's company initiatives. I'll focus on the primary components of the plan, and at the end of the meeting, you'll be given information for where to find the full details of the plan and submit any comments that you may have. I'll start with named communities. Customers who are disproportionately and negatively impacted by things such as housing, food, income insecurities, environmental effects, and other factors may be considered a named community. Under the Clean Energy Transformation Act, the primary data source for identifying named communities is the Washington Environmental Health Disparities Map. This map compares Washington communities using census tract data to identify disparities amongst groups, including social, medical, financial, environmental, and more. Named communities are made up of two groups: highly impacted communities and vulnerable populations. The Clean Energy Transformation Act defines what characterizes a highly impacted community, while vulnerable populations is a group identified by the utility and through the help of Avista's Equity Advisory Group. For Avista, the vulnerable populations are identified through the Washington Environmental Health Disparities Map, through Avista's EAG, or Equity Advisory Group, and through the Federal Climate and Economic Justice Map. Although the highly impacted community designation is determined by law, Avista is able to determine the vulnerable population characteristics. This slide provides detail about characteristics of vulnerable populations for Avista's service territory, especially those characterized by the Equity Advisory Group. The law intends for all customers to benefit from the transition to cleaner energy, and that benefit is measured by customer benefit indicators. The law requires that named communities, the populations I've just described, receive an equitable distribution of benefits and a reduction of burdens in this transition. Often these customer benefit indicator metrics measure the impact to all customers as compared to those in named communities. The law requires metrics that are under each of these defined benefit areas across the top. The icons representing affordability through public health. Under the 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan, I'm going to be saying that word a lot today, Avista proposes 13 customer benefit indicators, the items that are listed in the green boxes, and 54 associated metrics which are not displayed on this slide. The metrics will be reported annually for all customers in Washington State and under Avista's service territory, and where applicable, named communities. The delivery of clean energy to customers is the primary goal of the Clean Energy Transformation Act, with those three major milestones or requirements that I mentioned at the beginning of the slide. In this chart, the green bars They represent the amount of clean energy that was delivered to customers annually under Avista's first Clean Energy Implementation Plan back in 2021. The dark blue, those bars represent what the company is proposing under the current 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan. You'll notice a gradual trajectory of increasing the amount of clean energy delivered to customers each year. By the end of 2029, Avista proposes that 76.5% of the energy delivered to customers will come from a renewable or a non-emitting source. A non-emitting source can be something like a battery. This sets Avista up well for meeting the second CETA milestone requirement in light blue, the 2030 carbon neutrality requirement, where at least 80% of the energy delivered to customers must come from a clean or a non-emitting source. You may be thinking, though, isn't Avista already delivering clean energy with all the hydro dams that they have? And you would be correct. But under the law, utilities must prove the energy is generated from a clean source. That proof is called a renewable energy certificate. Keeping the energy generated with the certificate proves that it came from a renewable or a clean source, while separating the energy from the certificate means it isn't clean anymore. Prior to the law, Avista would separate the energy from the certificate and would sell that certificate or the proof in energy markets to help benefit customer rates. In order for Avista to meet these annual clean energy requirements, 2026 through 2029, the company can no longer sell the renewable energy certificate. Avista must keep the certificate with the energy and ensure that that proof is never sold. This is done by retiring the certificate. The second bullet on this slide helps Avista meet future Clean Energy Transformation Act requirements through a request for proposal for new generation sources. The company is currently evaluating those submissions, determining what new energy resources would be compliant and also cost-effective for customers. The decisions from this process will be known in late 25 and early 2026. The cost of retiring these renewable energy credits and implementing other parts of the 2025 plan do have an impact on customer bills. While many factors will influence what your total bill is over the next 4 years, and there will be various changes to customer rates that are unknown at this point, Avista can estimate the cost of the 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan. Based on an average electric usage of around 11,000 kilowatt hours annually, it's estimated the annual impact of the plan would be an additional $33. That may translate to $2 or $3 monthly, depending on the season. The seasonal difference is because energy usage tends to be higher in colder months, like February, and lower in milder months, like September. Your actual costs may be higher or lower, depending on your usage, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different situation and different heating needs and cooling. Avista understands that any changes to your bill do matter, especially as the cost of everything else in life continues to rise. Although these cost increases are driven by state law requirements, Avista is working to minimize the impact of the law on households and businesses while still remaining compliant. Another required area of the CEIP is energy efficiency, or reducing the consumption of energy while making the same or similar results. Prior to the law, Avista had already had requirements to achieve annual energy savings, and that energy savings is measured in megawatt hours. These requirements are now included as part of the Clean Energy Transformation Act and the Clean Energy Implementation Plan. To meet the targets of more than 147,000 megawatt hours of energy savings, the company will continue to offer and seek new cost-effective programs for customers, like improving home insulation and lighting and offering rebates on energy-efficient appliances. These energy savings or conservation efforts result in less energy Avista has to provide or procure for customers, which in turn helps customer costs. Another way of reducing energy consumption is through demand response programs, Anna, which intend to reduce usage during high demand times, like the hottest day of the summer, or shift the usage from a different time of day. In Avista's 2021 Clean Energy Implementation Plan, the company signed an agreement with an industrial customer to call upon them to reduce their consumption by up to 30 megawatts in a given hour. Under this new plan, Avista wants to increase to 55 megawatts that could be called upon in a single hour to reduce usage. Customers use kilowatts, but at the utility level, it's at megawatts. That's a very big difference in energy usage. The company has issued a request for proposal requesting that companies submit their program ideas to help Avista achieve how we could save 25 additional megawatts of savings. These programs could range from aggregating customer batteries to expanding the use of time of use or rates that offer financial incentive to customers to reduce usage during specific timeframes. In addition to the required CEIP or Clean Energy Implementation Plan sections, the company also proposes initiatives specific to Avista, including the continuation of the Named Communities Investment Fund and proposing aspirational goals under the customer benefit indicators. The company proposes investing up to $5 million annually to support the equitable transition to cleaner energy and the distribution of energy and non-energy benefits for named communities. Under the 2021 plan, this included projects like supporting resiliency at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center in Spokane and a community center in Malden, Washington. It also included improving lighting and HVAC system energy efficiency projects for food banks or nonprofit organizations across Avista's Washington Electric service territory. Avista has invested almost $7 million in named communities since the fund began and would like to continue investing in named communities over the next 4-year period. Let's talk about the aspirational goals next. The company is proposing 6 aspirational goals listed in the green boxes, one for each of the benefit area listed across the top. These goals include increasing participation in energy efficiency programs and financial energy assistance offers here at Avista under the affordability benefit area, to decreasing the frequency of outages under energy security and decreasing greenhouse gas emissions under environmental effects. These aspirational goals are supported by various company actions through 2029. So here's a summary look of the main components of the plan from named communities through company initiatives. I've focused on the primary components of the plan today, but if you're interested in knowing the full program and plan details with all of our actions, please consider reviewing our plan on our website. Here's information about where you can find it and our timeline over the next couple months. You're welcome to email your comments about the plan to CETA@avistacorp.com or comment on a comment form on our website. We'll also be talking about your questions and comments today. The public comment period is open through August 31st, and Avista will compile and include comments when the plan is filed with the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission on October 1st. After Avista files, the Commission and other interested parties will review it and determine if it should be approved as presented, approved with changes, or denied. Those are the main components and the main content we'd like to share with you today. Thank you for joining us, and I think we can have time for questions now.
Thank you, Kelly. We will now open it up to your questions. You can either enter your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and unmute yourself to ask a question. If your question does not get answered today, Or if you have further questions or feedback, you can reach us by emailing CETA@avistacorp.com. During the question and answer section, Tamara Bradley, Manager of Social Impact, will be assisting with the question facilitation.
Thanks, Anna, and thank you, Kelly. Great presentation. We do have a couple questions from our friend Brian over at Gonzaga. Good morning, Brian. So the first question is, does Avista have any plans to use pumped storage as a non-emitting source during the next period?
The short answer is no, we do not. That is not one of the utility scale resources that we're considering as part of our clean energy transition right now. If those things become cost effective as something for Avista to pursue, we will definitely consider that. But right now, that is not a cost effective resource option for Avista.
Thanks, Kelly. And close to that, does Avista have plans to pair solar with battery storage as non-emitting source in the next period?
Yes. Yes, it's a component of the plan that I did not share today. It's not necessarily a utility scale resource, but Avista is pursuing a new installation of 1.5 megawatts of solar plus a 1.5 megawatt battery under a House bill, Washington House bill opportunity that is available. And if we receive approval from that or for that, we will make a new installation out at our Boulder Park facility off of Trent. Details of that action are listed in the plan.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Do we have any plans to incentivize our residential customers in regards to solar?
No. Today, Avista does not offer financial incentive for the purchase and the installation of rooftop solar or batteries. However, based on that demand response proposal project that we're expecting to happen later this year, it's possible that incentivizing or aggregating customer batteries and rooftop solar may be an option. We won't know though until after the results of that request for proposal. The short answer today, no, but maybe into the future.
Great, thank you. Chris has a question. Thank you, Chris. How will a house with mostly natural gas meet this new law?
Well, CETA applies to electric, residential, and business customers in Washington state, not natural gas. There is another law called the Climate Commitment Act that is more applicable and specific for natural gas customers. If you're a dual fuel customer where you have both gas and electric from Avista, your impact of the plan financially with your rates may be different than an all electric customer.
Thank you, Kelly. Next question is from Mark. Thank you, Mark. Are there any threats to these programs? And I'm thinking that he's referring to CETA as a whole under the current political environment.
Well, although the federal position on clean energy and changes at the federal level have definitely come through, Washington state has not changed their position on clean energy goals through the Clean Energy Transformation Act. Although the passing of the One Big Beautiful Bill did have an impact to tax incentives for wind and solar, that may influence our request for proposal process, and meaning because the tax credit is gone, the cost effectiveness of a wind or a solar generation site don't look as favorable financially because the incentive is gone. But I don't believe that Washington state is going to change their position on the clean energy laws. And at the federal level, although it changes, Avista must comply with Washington law.
Thanks, Kelly. Does home solar affect this project, Keith asked? And again, I think he's referring to CETA as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Well, residential solar right now is a choice for customers. Avista does offer a net metering agreement for customers with rooftop solar. And Avista is not pursuing at this point any additional rooftop solar installations for customers. Although through our Named Communities Investment Fund, we have been able to support various organizations like the Malden Community Center or the MLK Community Center with with solar and possibly a battery to accompany it. But those are specific projects and not widespread at the customer level.
Thank you, Kelly. And in the chat there, we put more information on net metering if you are interested. You can also feel free to raise your hand if you want to come off mute and ask a question. We do have another one here. That's from our communications team to learn more about our MLK Community Center and our partnership with MLK here in Spokane. If you do have further questions, again, please feel free to come off mute, raise your hand, or put them in the chat. I'm not seeing further questions at this time, Kelly. Anything else that you might want to add to your presentation that you weren't able to hit on just for an extra value?
So I've mentioned that this presentation is focusing on the primary components of the plan and specifically the ones that the law require. But Avista also is proposing other actions to support this plan and this transition. We have specific efforts that we're doing with the Spokane Tribe in supporting a resiliency effort and a microgrid, basically a battery, and that can support the tribal lands up there. We also have, through our Named Community Investment Fund, made specific efforts to support named community organizations, including free laundry services, supporting workforce development at places like Christ Kitchen or Dignified Workday. And really, the Named Communities Investment Fund is a Avista-specific action that we really think makes a difference in our community and supports customers in a very meaningful way, definitely beyond just providing kilowatts and energy to customers.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that extra there. A couple more questions have came in. So Chris just wants to confirm that natural gas is not part of this law.
Natural gas is not part of this law. The Climate Commitment Act and the Clean Energy Transformation Act are two separate things in Washington State. The Climate Commitment Act does have impacts to customer bills, and the intent of that law is really to decarbonize the natural gas system and provide ways of different energy sources. And for more information on that, I think that something's going to go in the chat to support our actions with the Climate Commitment Act.
Thanks, Kelly. Question around data centers, hot topic here at Avista. So how is the increase in data centers affecting your ability to meet CETA requirements? Is increase in demand for electricity for data centers outpacing your ability to add renewable at the rates required by CETA?
Okay, that's a good one. So currently Avista does not have a new large load customer like a data center, although there are many requests coming into Avista saying, maybe I'd like to have a data center in your area, could you accommodate us? If a new data center came into our Washington service territory, we would have to serve them with renewable energy. And you noticed that we have a request for proposal out right now saying new energy sources could come our way, what's compliant and what's cost effective. And bringing on new resources into the future helps us comply with new large loads. So there will be an impact. Obviously, if a 30 megawatt company came along and said, we need more energy and we need it all to be clean. And so Avista does have a plan in place and a process for accommodating and requesting requesting connection to our system for those loads. But as of today, we don't have one, but we are ensuring that we can meet the need into the future.
Great question. Thank you for asking that. Thanks, Kelly. As we wait for more questions to come in and comments, I was thinking it might be a good time to show the results of our first poll. So if we can put that up there. Okay, so 44%, so almost half of our audience this morning, this is their first public participation meeting. So thank you for being here, especially bright and early, 7:30 in the morning. We are rehosting this meeting at noon today. So 1 to 2 meetings, 22%, and then 33% of our audience this morning have attended 3 meetings or more. That's impressive.
I want to know who that person is.
Right?
Those three. That's good engagement. Thank you.
Yes, we do appreciate that. We can go ahead and close that poll up, see if we have any more questions coming through. Great questions this morning. We really do appreciate the questions. It helps to inform us. It helps to make our clean energy implementation plan better, more improved, and beneficial to our customers that we serve here in Washington. Great. I love that because I just said Washington. So Chris says, how are you impacted by Idaho policy?
Well, at the beginning of the presentation, I offered that slide that said Avista's serving energy in 3 different states, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, and each of those have their own commissions with their own state policies and regulations. So it is a balancing act, not only for customers, but for Avista. And when we plan energy delivery for all of our customers, we plan it as a system, meaning we don't say this resource just gets to serve Idaho customers and this resource gets to serve just Washington customers. And so as the state policies diverge, it becomes harder for Avista to do a system plan where we collectively make all the megawatts and we collectively serve them all to customers, especially when Washington doesn't want any emitting resources like natural gas turbines, which we have one here in Washington that's owned by Avista, but we have more in Idaho. So the risk there is for Avista would be to be taking an action that we would want to benefit all customers, but Idaho wouldn't like it. And they wouldn't like it, and then they would challenge our decision and possibly, deny some type of action we've taken because Idaho does not support Washington's clean energy policies. So right now we're working to ensure that the plan that we put in for Washington customers isolates them and isolates Idaho customers.
Thank you, Kelly. It's definitely complicated. Appreciate that explanation. What would you say is a distinctive feature about Avista's clean energy implementation plan compared to maybe other investor-owned utilities here in Washington State?
Well, there are 3 major investor-owned utilities in Washington State that are under this law: Pacific Core Power, Puget Sound Energy, and of course Avista. All utilities are under this, even the small public utility districts. But the main components of our Avista's 2025 plan, the signature component is the Named Communities Investment Fund. Neither Pacific Core or Puget Sound Energy have this company initiative where we have dedicated a set amount of money to support named communities and the transition to cleaner energy in terms of, energy efficiency or workforce development or other community initiatives like the Resiliency Center at the MLK. And so that those projects and that fund really is a special component of Avista's plan. The other special component would be how renewable we naturally are. We have we naturally have a lot of hydro generation, and that really sets us apart from the other utilities that are under this law, because they may have more reliable or more reliance, on natural gas or coal-fired generation. And so they're struggling or having to make more drastic steps in removing those resources from their mix and supplementing them with wind and solar and other hydro generation that they can acquire to meet these clean energy goals, which in turn, influences their costs. So because Avista is already so naturally clean with our hydro generation, although there was a financial impact of complying with the law, we are in a much better position as compared to our utilities in meeting those requirements.
Thank you, Kelly. Two great points. I was hoping the first thing you were going to say is the name Communities Investment Fund. It's such a unique feature of Avista's. And then, of course, how renewable we are. I would just add to that, part of CETA, we have to file a public participation report every 2 years. We just filed our last one on May 1st, 2025. And I would say that our plan is unique in the fact that the way we serve our customers, how our customers live, where they live, is much different than the other two investor-owned utilities in the state of Washington. So I would say our public participation report, which is part of CETA, is unique in that aspect as well.
Good point, Tamara.
Yeah, thanks. So Chris says, really great questions coming through, Chris. Really appreciate the engagement. At some point, the states will need to be on the same page. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
How will that be addressed? That's a tough one.
That's a question that we struggle with here at Avista quite regularly. So in the past and currently, how do you meet the law, continue to operate as a system, and make sure that the cost of operating a system is allocated to the right customers? Washington gets Washington's cost and Idaho gets Idaho's cost. There's another utility, Pacific Core Power. They have more states than we do, and they went through a process of working with their regulators in all of their 5, maybe more states, to ensure that the type of resources that they have get assigned or allocated to their specific state. And Avista may be in a situation where sometime in the future we would have to consider having those conversations to ensure that the costs are allocated with the right state and customer group, or two other opportunities. Washington could move away from their clean energy requirements, or Idaho could adopt clean energy requirements. Those things are our options. But in order for Avista to maintain a certain amount of reliability and seek cost effectiveness for customers, we may have to have those conversations into the future. Right now, though, we are managing all of our electric customers as a system with our generation resources while still remaining compliant.
Thank you, Kelly. Question about our dams. So it's my understanding that our current dams can produce more electricity than they are currently with some upgrades. Is this in our plan?
So no, so it is true that our dams are quite strong in creating a lot of megawatt power. To upgrade dams does take a lot of money. And maybe for the incremental amount of money spent compared to the additional megawatt that can be gained may not be cost effective. So Avista had considered upgrading our Post Falls Dam facility, which is a pre-World War I dam built in 1908, I believe. Mm-hmm. And the turbines at that dam are original to 1908. And so under our first plan, first clean energy implementation plan, we did consider what it would cost to upgrade that dam and have it produce more megawatts. Under CETA, that would be a benefit. However, the cost effectiveness of upgrading those facilities outweighs the megawatts that we would output from the upgrade. So that's one example where it was considered, but it's not cost effective. And other dam sites that we have, like in Knoxon, Montana, or Cabinet Gorge up by Sandpoint, outside of Sandpoint, those dams are our primary producers for megawatts and serve many of our customers. But to do major overhauls on those projects would be quite a financial cost, and currently is not part of our plan.
That's a great question. Thank you for explaining that, Kelly. Appreciate that. Keep them coming. This has been great engagement. We really appreciate this again. Fabulous questions. Maybe as we wait to see, actually, another question just came in, and we get this one a lot, Kelly. So how does nuclear energy fit into all of this? And are we planning for nuclear in the future?
So under the law, nuclear energy is considered a non-emitting carbon resource, which is great. But building new nuclear resources is quite costly. And so when Avista considers bringing on new generation sources, it must be cost effective to customers. And so until the cost of nuclear comes down, it's not really a cost-effective option for Avista to choose. It would create a lot of rate pressure for customers to bring on a new nuclear facility or to receive power from an existing nuclear facility.
Thank you, Kelly.
So technology's got to change into the future and become more cost-effective.
We do get questions around nuclear quite often, so appreciate that. I was thinking it might be a great time to launch our second poll, which is kind of our closing poll here. We still have plenty of time for questions, but this is which statement best reflects, still early guys, which statement best reflects your understanding of Avista's clean energy implementation plan? Informed and confident, understand the basics, still have questions. I didn't follow today's presentation. And we get that too, because like I said earlier, this is complicated. And thank you for taking the time to answer the poll question.
We got some strong understanding the basics. That's great.
Maybe we can close that poll now and share the results so everybody can see those. And yeah, 91%, I understand the basics. That's wonderful.
Great. And no one was lost in today's presentation, which is wonderful.
And maybe just to know, we take questions all the time, not just during public participation meetings. And I think that we already put it in the chat, but we're happy to put it back in there where you can ask us a question through our website. We have a comment form. Happy to get back to you. We also have an email inbox for your questions related to the Clean Energy Transformation Act of Washington State. And thank you, Anna, for putting that slide back up. Again, you'll see it's myavista.com/CEIP. Our email is CETA@avistacorp.com. And our comment form is located on our webpage, again, myavista.com/CETA. Kelly, when are we filing our final plan again?
October 1st.
Okay.
October 1st.
Coming fast.
Yep. We hope that you'll take a minute, just even to open the document. There is a very quick executive summary. Maybe it's 3 pages, written in plain language. So if you're interested, please open that up and provide any comments, either by emailing us or using the comment form. And you may have watched the video that we sent, Anna, our host today for the meeting, she made a message for all customers that was in the invite, welcoming you and inviting you to this meeting. And I hope it helped set the stage for what we're going to talk about today.
And just to know, another session is being hosted at noon. You're always welcome to come back and join us. Another comment here, hard to believe that wind and solar are cheaper than retrofitting the dams and investing in nuclear. Is this because of tax incentives? That's a good question.
Yeah, so I can't speak to the specific dollar amounts, but wind and solar have received heavy subsidies from the government to make them more cost effective and to make them look like a cheaper resource as compared to other resources like natural gas, fire generation, or hydro generation. So with the removal of those tax credits, or at least the phasing out, the price of wind and solar will increase. And so when you levelize all those costs between wind, solar, hydro, and nuclear, I can't tell you who will be the cheapest resource of them all. But I will say building a brand new facility, regardless of what it is, whether it was Avista does not own any wind farms, by the way. We receive power from a wind farm, but we have not built our own wind farm. But to finance a brand new generation project, from a dam to a nuclear site to a wind farm, they would all have cost impact to Vista and to the customers. And we would have very serious and specific conversations if we were going to entertain that. I don't think Avista's built a new facility that we own since the 80s.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for the question. I'm just going to pause here for one more second and see if any more questions are coming through. Well, again, we thank you for being here at 7:30 in the morning. Thank you for your engagement. We look forward for more comments and questions from this audience. Appreciate you. And without any closing comments, Kelly?
Read the plan, make a comment. And thank you very much for joining us today.
I love that. Have a fabulous day, everybody. Thank you.